Hey everybody, welcome to the episode 13. Today we'll speak about LinkedIn inbound lead generation as promised, and my guest is Staffan Tinpont, founder of the marketing family. So let me just briefly introduce Staffan because I assume all our group members already know him. But anyway, Staffan started the marketing family 1 year ago, and with this short period of time,
Hey guys, Andre is frozen for me. Can you guys still hear me? If so, I'll talk a little bit before he comes back. So if anybody can hear me, please let me know in the chat, because I think I'm not frozen, but I might be. Okay, so since Andre is frozen, I'm gonna try to take a little bit of his job for a little bit. So my name is Staffan Tinpont. I'm the co-founder of the marketing family, like Andre said. And the marketing family is an agency that is focused on personal branding on LinkedIn. So we create inbound, we generate inbound leads through content marketing on LinkedIn. And then we are also very focused on outbound lead generation on LinkedIn. So that means we create a list of people that we want to that are marketing qualified leads, and we send them messages and try to turn that into sales or meetings or whatever, right? So we do both inbound and outbound lead generation on LinkedIn. And then we're also always experimenting. And one of the things we're experimenting right now is chatbots and how we can place them inside of our funnels. So we combine our LinkedIn cold outreach with messenger bots, and then actually these messenger bots are supposed to sell messenger bots, and Andre, is that you?
Yep,
Nice.
yep. So, once more, sorry guys for inconvenience. So we are back. Don't know, but sometimes we have some bugs with it server. So anyway, you didn't actually miss anything. So let's start from the early beginning. I just gave a short introduction to you, but let's start with a question which I regularly ask my guests. So tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I actually just introduced myself when you dropped out of the call, but a quick repetition is I'm Staffan Timpon, the co-founder of the Marketing Family. We do both inbound and outbound lead generation through LinkedIn. The inbound part is mostly dealing with content and helping people tell their personal story, their core story, and using that to attract leads and create trust and all this kind of stuff. And then we also do some outbound lead generation, which is actually cold messaging on LinkedIn, which we combine with messenger bots and all sorts of automation magic to try to create a seamless experience. And yeah, that'd be good.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. And actually, you didn't miss, let's say, you're just a bit humble, and you missed that fact that last year you was nominated as LinkedIn Top Influencer. So we'll speak a bit about this fact today. So. But let's start with the questions that we have prepared already and the questions that were asked by B2B marketers and founders members. So basically, you are famous about your LinkedIn inbound and outbound lead generation. So the question is, what kind of preparation work should be done before starting LinkedIn marketing to maximize the chances of being successful? Why I'm asking the question? Because, when it comes to lead generation, people, especially when it comes to B2B lead generation, companies always think about LinkedIn as the core lead generation channel, but in most cases, their lead generation looks like this. So they just install LinkedIn Sales Navigator, then they send like private messages, hey guys, we are doing this and that. So if you are interested, just schedule a meeting with me and some follow-ups, and then they are wondering why we don't have enough leads in our sales pipeline. So basically, what kind of preparations should be done before starting LinkedIn lead generation?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I always like to stick to the basics as much as I can. So if we're gonna be, I think we're gonna talk mostly about inbound lead generation. So I'll talk a little bit about how to prepare for that. One of the very first thing you need to do is fill in your ideal customer profile. When there's a fantastic guides on your website on how to do this, because you need to know exactly who you're talking to. And it sounds like a little bit lame, and I mean it sounds very basic. But the thing is, what I see a lot, and this is both marketeers and people with SaaS companies or whatever, is they basically talk to themselves. So they're making posts that they personally can relate to, but they are often using language that does not necessarily make sense to the target audience. So let's say I'm selling marketing services towards people who have like a hairdressing salon or whatever, right? If I'm talking about marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads, I'm talking about Phantom Buster, all these things, it's not going to make sense to the target audience. So that's why you really need to have a very solid feel for who you are talking to. So that's the first thing that you really need to do. The second thing you need to do for inbound LinkedIn lead generation is actually go out there and connect with your target audience in a way, but in a slightly different way than you might expect. So what people do is they'll go into Sales Navigator and they'll find the people that might want to buy from them, and they'll just message those people and connect with them. And that's all good if you're doing outbound, if you're trying to do cold messaging. Problem is, these people are usually not browsing their LinkedIn feed. So what you need first of all is to find the people that are actually engaging on LinkedIn, actually reading posts and actually commenting on those posts. Because you need to have a core following of people that are both in your target audience and also are engagers, because these people, when they engage, they make sure that your posts are seen by more and more people. So building that core group of engagers is super important, and they need to be in the target audience. And then the third thing you need to do before you actually start creating your content is, of course, you need to optimize your profile. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But one thing that I can already say is that you need to have a clear direction for the person to go to after they visit your profile. So if you want them to book a call, your profile needs to be full of links to book a call. If you want them on your email list, you need to be giving away 10 different things to convince the people to actually join your email list and this sort of things. So those are really good ways to prepare. And if we're going to talk immediately about how to find this core audience of engagers, is what you need to do is you need to find people who are already influencers within your target audience. Go to find the people that engage with them and start building relationships by talking to them in the comments, adding them as connections, and just build those relationships. And that way, when you're ready to create content, you already have a base audience that will allow it to be seen by more people that could be interested in your services.
Awesome. So basically, you say that before starting your LinkedIn inbound game, you should figure out your influence. Besides ideal customer profile, you should figure out influencers and then figure out who engage with their content. So and build a relationship with this audience. And by this way, you have, let's say, a foundation for your LinkedIn inbound lead generation, because you have people who are interested in your content, who are ready to engage with your content, who are ready to promote your content, etc., etc., etc. And by this way, you can just regularly appear in the newsfeed of your target audience. Awesome.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot for this great tip. So basically, these are the preparations. And what are the most common mistakes companies make with LinkedIn inbound? Besides these things, of course, we can also count if somebody don't just apply these tips like you shared a few minutes ago. So there also would be mistakes. But what are other mistakes, let's say, most common mistakes companies make?
Yeah, so actually the ones I already mentioned are really important. But apart from those, one really huge mistake that sometimes makes me a little bit angry when I see it is that they don't involve their own team and they don't involve their own company. If you have a company with 20 employees, there is absolutely no excuse for you to have less than 20 engagements on your posts. You need to create a culture where you're supporting each other on social media. If you're using organic channels. So when I create a post, the first thing I do is I send it to everybody in my team so that the conversation is started. You know, it's much easier to join a conversation that's going on than it is for somebody to start the conversation from zero. So of course your content is a way to say hi and a way to start the conversation, but just in the comments is where the conversation is actually happening. So you need to get that started early on. Second thing is that they don't make any content. You know, that's a huge mistake. Or they make a post once every 3 months and it's just like a share of some article that's another 3 months older, or one of those articles that LinkedIn tells you to share. You know, like it's absolutely no problem to curate content on LinkedIn, but you need to add your own voice to it. You need to add your own, let's say, wisdom to it, and you need to find a way to relate it to what you're doing. So give your opinion on news articles, give your own opinion on viral videos. That's all good, but you need to add something unique to it. You need to add something that fits both your brand, your personal brand, and your company. Because on LinkedIn, as of now, the only way to grow is on a personal profile, in my opinion, at least, unless you're going to be playing with a lot of paid. So since you're working on a personal profile, you need to show some personality. So they don't make content, they don't involve their team. And also, like, what I'm seeing a lot is people, they watch a lot of Gary Vee, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna document my journey, and that's all like super good, right? I have no problem with documenting the journey, but it cannot be the only thing you do. Like it's very nice for me to hear that you figure something new out, or that you made a revenue goal, or that you generated this many leads and stuff. That's all very good, but at the end of the day, that's not useful for me as a reader, as a consumer. So you need to balance your documentation with actual useful content, because otherwise you lose these people over time, or you risk becoming an influencer for the sake of being an influencer, where that's all you are. You're not making any money from it.
Yep, definitely, and thanks a lot for this awesome advice. And basically, we have figured out, let's say, six core mistakes. So first of all, let's just make a short recap about this. So guys who are listening to us right now, who will watch the replay, they will just can make a note from this. So basically, the first common mistake is not to have an ideal customer profile. A second is not building a foundation by figuring out influencers who are working with your target audience, and figuring out the engagers who are already engaged with their content, etc. So another mistake is not involving your team. Another mistake is just thinking about Gary Vee and like a benchmark for your business. And just from my point of view, like I'm more offline guy than digital guy, and basically when what I have seen on LinkedIn, that companies, for example, from, let's say, also from offline world, when they just enter LinkedIn, start posting content like maybe founder or VP of marketing, for example, they start to post like they are Gary Vee. Actually, they are sharing something they, I think, millions of people waited for and so another mistake is not realizing what your target audience is really looking for and what they really want to hear from you. Awesome, thanks a lot. So basically, just assume guys who are listening to us already figured out some great tips they should correct. And another way, just I forgot about another mistake you also told, and it's great. So if you want to generate leads from your profile, you should add links to scheduling a call with you or joining your email list by downloading some kind of lead magnet, etc. So,
and also they need to involve their team. Super important to involve your team.
Yep. Awesome. So besides these mistakes, a most common question that comes, let's say, not from micro companies, but let's say from small businesses or from medium businesses who start LinkedIn inbound lead generation, who should post the content? And also this is a question about your
I think he's back.
Yep. I'm here.
Okay, you're back. But we're not back on the live yet, I think. Let's see.
We are live.
Okay, cool. So this is a great question. Who should be posting on LinkedIn? The CEO or people in the team and whatever, right? So I forgot the exact statistics, and I actually was planning to Google them again before I got online, but I forgot. But it turns out that people are about something like 72% of people are more likely to buy from a company if the CEO is on social media. So the CEO should be active in some sense, or at least be visible. But also referrals from posts from employees do much better usually than the company posts themselves. So my response to this question would be to get as many people as possible on LinkedIn, especially people that are natural, like social butterflies, like the people that just want to talk and talk and talk, and they want to look around and see who's talking about what and join every conversation. Those people should be empowered, enabled to be on LinkedIn, right? So no matter the company size, if anybody in your team feels passionate about being social with people in general, they should be on LinkedIn. Now, there's also a huge and everybody's profile can be utilized as an asset. But there's also a lot of reasons why the CEOs themselves should be online, because they are in a lot of ways the front man, the pioneer, the visionary behind the company. And nobody's ever going to be able to share the vision behind the company as good as the person who's been there since day one, the person who built everything, the person who originally found the product market fit, the person who originally saw the problem to be solved. Nobody's ever going to be able to share that message, share that vision as well as the CEO or the person who's there first. So there's a lot of good reasons for them to be online as well. Now, I don't think necessarily that they should do that themselves or alone, because there are a lot of ways to let people help you, because I know a lot of people, especially CEOs, are extremely busy. So, for example, in our agency, what we do is we ask a bunch of questions to, let's say, CEOs or people who want to build their personal brand and want to let us do it. So we have a bunch of questions that we ask them, and these are all based upon like key topics in their industry, key things that happen in their life, key things that you should have an opinion about. We ask them to answer these questions on video, and then we write the post for them. Now, if you have a talented writer in your company, you could just have a conversation with them and ask them, can you make a post about this? Of course, they need to like be paid for that and being able to do a good job. But I think you should figure out as a company how you can give your CEO a voice without it taking away from their other responsibilities within the company. Because it's good to be visible on social media and to have people know you. But I see sometimes people where they're not a marketing company and they start spending 2, 3, 4 hours a day on social media, and that takes away from your effectiveness within the business. So, in short, my answer is, as anybody in the company that wants to be online and gets energy from it should be online, and the CEO should be helped to find a way to share his story without letting it take away too much from their real job.
Also, I just was wondering about this. In case if, for example, the CEO of company has no time to create a content or just write updates on his profile, should it be a good idea if he, for example, will delegate it to his team, or at least what I have done with my company, with pipeline agency? So I just basically, had a Skype with content creators. I just gave them ideas, and then they sent me a drafts of posts. So then, if everything was okay, I posted this. If no, I just told that something should be updated. Or another tip, what I was actually doing, I just used my iPhone. I just recorded voice. Like, here are some tips I want just to create a post about, and then once more gave it to content creators. Is it a good idea to let's say, leverage such methods or no?
I think so. I think it's a good idea, but you need to be a little bit careful with it, because first of all, you have different breeds of content creators. Somebody who's good at writing long form articles will not necessarily be good at writing a 1,300 character post on LinkedIn that shares the vision of your company. So either work with people who know you really well, or or find a way to communicate who you are really well with them. So either somebody who knows you really well, or somebody who's specifically skilled at creating content on LinkedIn. And it's honestly not an easy job at all. For people who are not, let's say, LinkedIn native, people who don't hang out there, it's going to be very hard for them to create content that resonates with people on LinkedIn. But if they know you really well and they have some sense of storytelling, they could do it. But because we think it's so hard, that's actually one of the reasons we started our agency. So So we ask questions, people just answer on video really fast. We tell them which details we need, and then we create a post based on the video we get from them. Because there's definitely a skill aspect to the content creation as well. Of course, you build that skill by practicing over time. So if you decide to have somebody in your team do it, give them the time to browse LinkedIn 1 hour a day to see what other people are writing, and also give them the time to suck for a while till they're good through practice.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. And another question that actually appeared in my mind, you actually mentioned this tricky thing about social media, that you can just spend 5 to 6 hours just browsing the content, listening to influencers, engaging, and so on, just dropping in some conversations, etc. So what are the good tips not to, let's say, how to schedule your time for this LinkedIn inbound lead generation, for creating a content, just not to miss all other important things for a company?
Yeah, so first of all, you need to delegate whatever you can delegate, right? So let's say well, one of the things that is super important is to be active in the community and comment on other people's posts and like have some conversations, right? And you need to empower somebody that is not you to go do that for you, right? So that's one big tip, is figure out what do you need to do and what do you not need to do, and like split those up. You know so let's say if I would have somebody to do that for me, what I would do is I would tell them, look, I want you to be talking to all these people, just say nice stuff to them. But as soon as they're talking about LinkedIn, about marketing, about chatbots, send me the post and I'll make a useful comment there. You know, because I have to be the one, because being knowledgeable about marketing is part of my brand. I have to do that. I don't have to comment on people's pictures of cats or features of cats. You know, like some really promising leads might be posting videos about cats, but I don't need to be part of that conversation. Right? So that's the first thing, is split up what you have to do, what you don't have to do. And then the second part would be to just schedule it out when you're going to do it. You know, like let's say you limit your social media time. Dan Meredith, he says 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at noon, and 30 minutes at night, and his job is doing social media. And I would say that's a pretty good way to schedule it in your day, is to just like have set times when you do it and set times when you don't do it. For example, I will only do engagement at night after I've done the stuff that I really need to use my brain for. So that's the second one. That's a big tip. And the third one is, when you're browsing, don't just read for your personal entertainment. Don't just read to learn from the content, but pay a lot of attention to what people are doing and how they're doing and why you think they're doing it. Because I usually don't really read posts. Of course, I always read yours, but usually I don't really read posts. I just see like, okay, so this is where he's putting this. Okay, I see there's a lot of reaction to that. Maybe that's a better position to put my call to action, let's say, or this is a really strong call to action that's getting a lot of response, or this is the emotions that are triggering people in this industry. So pay attention to what people are doing, why they're doing it, and how doing it, rather than just like being totally sucked into the content itself.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for sharing. So basically, we just reach out the point when we should talk about how to optimize LinkedIn profile for lead generation. And as you already mentioned, your profile could be like one of the most important, besides your content, the profile would be another, let's say, not landing page, but one of the most visited pages on LinkedIn. People will visit if you'll attract them with your content or with your comments or with anything else. So how you can optimize your profile for lead generation?
Yeah, so honestly, I do see the profile as a landing page, but that's because we don't really use our website too much, and that's because we haven't gotten to it. We should. But, so yeah, I see the LinkedIn profile as a landing page. So you got to talk about the problem. You got to start out with the problem you're trying to solve. Then you got to prove. Then you got to agitate the problem. Then you got to prove that you can solve the problem, and then you need to have some kind of call to action to show what your solution is, or at least what your short-term solution is for them. So the copy is extremely important on the LinkedIn. So in the bio, I write basically like a normal landing page. Then of course your recommendations, those are kind of like your testimonials as they would be on a normal landing pages. So that's the role it fulfills. So those are super important. One mistake I see a lot with copy is that when they look at their job experience, they're talking about, oh, look at me, I'm so cool, I did this job. But people, they don't really care, right? So what I want to use the job experience for is to show the skills that you've learned there that would be beneficial to your customer. So let me just give you like a shitty example that I just came up with. So let's say that I worked in a shoe store 3 months ago or 3 years ago. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm like the best shoe picker in the world. Like I can shine shoes so shiny that they will blind people and stuff. That's totally useless for my current business. So what I could say is like, look, this is where I learned that you can never assume what your customer is going to buy. They might show up with Dr. Martens, but they might want to have the sandals instead. So I learned there that I shouldn't make choices for my customer, and that is a skill that could be useful within my current business. So I could like, look, that is how I've learned how to do customer research, and that's why I'm like the best customer research guy in the whole world or whatever. So use the experience section to show skills that are useful for your customer in your current business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's a big one. Then you also got to put the call to actions in there. So you upload media that's clickable. What I did is I made like one little image that says click over here because the link didn't want to have the image that I wanted it to have. So adding media, adding PDF, making sure your recommendations are good. Only show the recommendations that will actually help you in your current business as well. Add links everywhere because it's like we've tested it. It's really hard to see which links are getting clicked most. They're all pretty much the same. Your headline is extremely important as well. And I think you're really solid. So unless you're like Josh Fester or Neil Patel and you've had like all these huge accomplishments in the past, I think most of the time what works best is where you tell people I help ICP, so I help X type of people with problem Y. So that just tell people who you're helping with which problem, and make sure you can put it into 72 characters, because after 72 characters, it doesn't show up on mobile in the comments, because every time you comment, your headline is under your name. So those 72 characters, you need to make them count. That's another big one for profile. And then also try to keyword optimize it. Honestly, I'm not a big SEO guy, but I know you could use SEO tools for this to figure out what people are searching for. If you have LinkedIn Premium, you also get some data about how people found you for which keywords. And one of the things we've discovered is that your skills actually make a lot of difference in the search results. So make sure you write down different variations of wording of the skills you have to help people find you in the search bar as well.
And actually, just give me a second. I will ask you a question about skills. So basically, you are speaking about skills that could be endorsed, or skills that you just write down in your profile, like I'm good at this, that, and that.
The endorsements, yes.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks a lot for clarification. Awesome. So actually, yeah, I also have heard that you can optimize LinkedIn profile for like so by keywords, so people can find you. But I don't know whether it is so important, because in many cases, when it comes especially to B2B lead generation, if somebody will put down, let's say, B2B marketing and figure out my profile, I don't think obviously they will, let's say, they will immediately schedule a meeting with me. But mostly they will be, let's say, if I'll attract their attention, so mostly they will look at my content, and if the content will be good, they maybe return to the profile and then use your call to action. So basically, it's just another tip. So your good articles or your good posts should appear on your profile. What is more important, articles or posts? Or let's say, are articles important? Let's say LinkedIn articles, are they important or no?
Yeah, so articles are very interesting because they don't have the same amount of organic reach as a normal post, so they're easy to dismiss. But the benefit of them is that they stay on top of your profile, so they stay visible for a long time. And also, there are ways to share and reshare your articles multiple times. So they're both different tools that have different purposes, right? So articles are very good for if you want to write an in-depth guide. They're very good if you want to link to your old posts or your old articles. They're also very good if you want to put links to stuff. They're also good if you want to embed YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff. They're pretty bad for creating or to reaching a lot of people. So that is what the posts are for. So posts are really good for sharing one idea about one topic or sharing one story. That is what posts are really good for, and it allows you to show it to a massive amount of people. So they're a little bit different in their use, but they work together. So if you write your posts without having this little article preview box beneath it, your post will have the maximum amount of reach you can have. So what you do is you write your post first, you either add a video to it, which helps engagement, or you don't add anything to it. Then you edit it afterwards and you put the link into your article, because LinkedIn does not slow down the reach of posts that link to other parts of LinkedIn. So you just write your post about your article and you say what kind of useful things you're going to be talking about or whatever, and then you add a link to your article in, but you do it afterwards. This way you get the benefit of the reach of the posts, and at the same time you get the benefit of the article, which is the long form, being able to write in-depth stuff. So that's the way you can help them, you can make them work together. Now, if you make one long article and let's say you talk about 5 different topics or 5 different parts of your industry or whatever, then you can make 5 posts about your article. So you have maximum reach 5 times over. So you have 5 times, or 5 is just a number I made up, could be any number of times. But you have the advantage of the reach of the posts multiple times, and at the same time you have the advantage of the article, which allows you to make some more in-depth content. So they work together, and I wouldn't say either is better than the other. Articles are also pretty visible on Google, so that's another benefit of them. So to recap, use posts to drive engagement and views on your articles, and use the power of the articles to send them to your website or to teach people useful stuff, so you can gain a little bit more of a readership, of a following, and help people improve their lives with your
content. Just give me a second for asking a clarification question. So you mentioned that basically you should, let's say, post, first of all, you should post the article, then you should make a post about this article, then publish this post, and after this post was published, you should add a link to the post.
Yeah. Inside the post, yeah. But if you write an article, it will ask you to share it. Yeah. Because if you normally write an article, it asks you to share it, and it puts this little preview window, and the posts with the preview window, they are like, they're just killed by the algorithm. Nobody gets to see those. That's why instead you just make a post just make a post and add a link to the article in afterwards.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. And it's really important because I actually, I tried I had around, I don't know, maybe 15 LinkedIn articles. So I just tried 2 methods. And first of all, I did like everybody. So I published an article, just clicked on the share button on this short preview. I wrote like, let's say, some kind of story why this article is important for my target audience. But I saw then, like, in one day, just this article generated, let's say, 50 or 80 views. So it's nothing. And with another article, I did exactly like you just shared your method. And this article generated around 400 views in just one day. That's awesome.
Yeah. So you can also, like, I don't know if you ever read this book, The System, by Jesper Ostrom. He talks about viral bubble transition and telling the story about the story. So if you write an article about one topic, then you can write 5 posts that are actually about another topic that tie into the original topic. So that's where you can get multiple segments to pay attention to your one topic. So let's say, so I have all these video lights around me right now. So let's say I write an article about video lights, then I could write one post for social media marketers that want to have better lighting. Then I can have another one about, let's say, YouTubers who want to have better lighting. Then I can write another post for other video makers looking for a good deal. You know, so there's multiple stories about your core story, and those stories are stories about the story. Those can be your posts. So there's multiple reasons for you're targeting multiple segments with the same article, which is something that works.
And in case if you are targeting, let's say, enterprise companies, so it's great you can engage with different departments with such types of content. Awesome. Thanks a lot for sharing. And if we just started to talk about organic reach, so what are the tips how to improve the quality and the quantity of content organic reach besides what you have shared with us?
Yeah. So I actually, I'm going to say that I've shared the most important ones already. So I'm going to start with a recap of those. So first of all, you need to have a group of people ready to engage. So the people in your company is a good start. So if you have 20 people in your company, getting those 20 people to like and share, to like and comment on the post is going to make a big difference. That is called a pod, and I think most people are familiar with the concept of a pod. So you got to make a pod with people that have a similar audience to you. You know, they don't need to be talking about the same thing. Actually, it's better if they talk about something else, but it's best if they have a similar target audience. So you find people with a similar target audience and say, look, if you like my post and comment, I'll like and comment on yours. So because likes and comments on your posts get them seen by more people. So that's one big thing, is to have a group of people that basically are guaranteed to engage. The second thing that I've said before is that your connection base needs to be filled with people from your target audience. And not only are they in your target audience, they are also people who actually browse LinkedIn and are engagers. So you need to fill your connection base with all these kind of people. So LinkedIn sees that people who stumble upon your post in the feeds, that they actually care. So that's also going to help you get seen by more people, but also going to help you get seen by the right people, because they're both in your target audience and they're engagers. So that is those two are really big parts of the puzzle. Then, of course, writing for specific people, content that is useful for specific people, will get more of those type of people to engage. They are usually in their own network, have people that are similar to themselves. So that way it grows also. That way you gain more reach within your targets industry or segment. So those are 2 big ones and 3 big ones. And another one is having a call to action that makes it easy for people to join the conversation. So I always say that the post itself is a conversation starter. So it's basically you throwing an idea out there, and then what you want is to have other people join this conversation, give their thoughts on what's going on in your mind. So that's what the post is for. And then your call to action, your last line, is making it easy for them to join the conversation. So let's say I make this post about video lights, and then that's just it. And I'm just like, yeah, I think video lights are awesome. And then you show up, you see my post, and like, okay, yeah, they're awesome, but what am I gonna say about this? So then I can ask you like, have you thought about buying video lights, or what are your experiences with video lights? It makes it easier for you to join the conversation, and the more conversation there's going on, the more people will see your posts. So everything I'm saying, it also comes back to starting a conversation and helping the conversation, keeping it going. So when people are commenting on your post, you should respond. You should ask them questions back. You should make them feel seen, and just make sure it's an actual conversation. Let's see if I wrote down anything else.
Awesome. And before actually looking for another tips, I just want to recap this for our listeners and also guys who just joined the translation. So we are talking about LinkedIn inbound lead generation. So if you have any questions, just drop them in the comment section and we will answer them. So basically, let's recap this stuff. So you should involve your team. You should already what we have spoken about. You should create connections with engagers, with people who engage with content, and also you should also count every post as a conversation, not like lead generation, because it just, from my point of view, we can add also this thing to the most common mistakes when people think that every post should generate leads or should generate sales. So they are thinking, okay, I just have posted and no leads came from this post, so this was bad. And it's a great idea that you have underlined this, that every post should be counted as a conversation. So basically, you should like this. It's just so interesting, because when people, for example, when they are meeting with their leads, everybody knows that you should ask open questions. Yes, so you should ask about the business, about challenges, KPIs, etc., etc. So, but when it comes to post, people think that I should post something awesome and everybody should just schedule a meeting with me. No, it's just the same. So you are just talking to your target audience, and you should. It is a conversation. So ask question and count this as a conversation. It's really great. So another question is, what types of content work better from your point of view?
Yeah. So from my point of view, is you need to stay mindful of what the purpose of the post is, and try to maximize different types of posts for their own purpose. So to be a little bit more clear about this, I see two types of. I divide content into two types. You could make three types, but whatever. I just split it like this. I say you either have entertaining posts, which could be stories, jokes, viral videos, some insight into your life when you do some cool stuff and people feel good for you. So entertainment posts on one side, and then I see useful posts on the other side. So those are the posts that will actually make somebody else's life a little bit better. And I basically got this division from Ryan Holiday's book, The Perennial Bestseller, how he talks that books that we're still reading hundreds of years later are either extremely entertaining or extremely useful. And then you can also say like a sales post or like a post, whatever. You can make more divisions, but I'm going to stick to those two, entertainment or useful. So they are both just as important in my opinion, and both of them are very tricky to use without the other one. Because if you only make useful content, first of all, like there's a limit to how many like groundbreaking things you can share, but also they don't reach so many people. So not as many people engage on the useful posts, because even people in the same industry, they're not always struggling with the same problems at the same time. So if I figure something out that works really well for me and I share it, that is going to be useful to a couple of other people who have the same problem at the same time, but it's not going to be useful for everyone. So that's why maybe you're going to have 1/3 of the engagements as your entertainment post, because everybody always has some sort of use, let's say on an emotional level, for the entertainment post. So the entertainment post, I use those to reach as many people as possible, and then I count on my headline to attract the people that might be interested in my useful posts as well later on. So if my headline says that I'm, let's say, a LinkedIn guru or whatever, that sounds stupid. So if my headline shows people that my business is around LinkedIn, then that should be enough to get them to want to stay in touch with me. So I'll write some kind of viral post, let's say, or some kind of entertainment post, and count on getting, let's say, 30,000 views or 50,000 views or whatever. And people who see that, they're like, okay, so this guy does LinkedIn. Obviously, he at least kind of knows what he's doing, or he's a little bit popular. Maybe he's very handsome, whatever. So at that point, they see, oh, that's what he does, and they'll connect with me. Then my next post is going to be, let's say, useful, where I'm like, look, this is how I do this. This is my awesome hack to do lead generation. This is my awesome hack for this or that. Then like, okay, so this is actually useful. I'll come if I ever have a problem in this little area of business, I'll ask this guy, so that's how they work together. The one is to just create massive visibility, so people see your face, see your name, kind of know what you're doing, kind of know what you do. And then the useful posts are kind of like showing people, I actually know what I'm doing. I'm not just fluff, and people make note of that. And when they need your services, let's say 6 months down the line, they'll remember, oh yeah, okay, so I need to do some LinkedIn lead generation. That one guy one time made this post about LinkedIn lead generation. I didn't really get it, but it looked complicated, so he probably knows what he's doing. So they're both as useful, they just have different purposes. So when you make an entertainment post, make it as entertaining as you possibly can, have your call to actions have something to do with something entertaining, and just maximize that, maximize it for reach, optimize for reach. If you're making the useful posts, make them as useful as possible and optimize your call to action to help people implement or help them understand what you're doing better. So that's my answer. You need both useful and entertaining posts, and you need to have a little bit of both, and you need to make them do what they're meant to do.
Awesome, thanks a lot. It's really great advice. And what I was wondering about, it's a situation that when you are creating, let's say, entertainment posts, so they, in many cases, they generate lots of views, and in many cases, they generate lots of connection requests. So you start to receive a new connection request for people, and the question really is very important. And I also forgot to ask you about when you talked about these engagers. So should you, for example, if you want to build this foundation, should you send requests to engagers who, let's say, who don't fit your ideal customer profile or who don't fit your target audience? And in the next question is, when you receive this connection request, should you, let's say, approve the connection request from the people who seems to be engagers, but who completely don't fit your ideal customer profile or is a target audience?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So that's a really good question, and I'm very happy that I have an answer, because I would feel pretty stupid if I didn't. So there's two parts to your question, right? So first of all, if you're finding the people and you're doing more of an outbound approach where you're going to search them and connect with them like this, then you're just going to be very targeted towards people that both are in your target audience and are engagers. So let's say for me, we're mostly focusing right now on CEOs, founders, people that rely on their personal brand a lot or have the money to just do it as a luxury. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find an influencer who is talking to those people as well. And then what I would do, so let's just give an example, something that I think we've actually done. So let's say I'm going around on the internet. I'm like, okay, so who else is targeting founders? And then it's like, oh, my boy Josh Fester, he's targeting founders. So I just go find his post. I find the post that is most specifically targeted towards founders. I'll scrape the commenters, and I'll just boom. I'll put them in Phantom Buster or Linked Helper, and I send all of those people connection requests with a nice message that like invites them to be where I'm like, I want to be your friend, and you think you're awesome, and you're engaged in this post, so we're probably pretty like-minded, you know. So when I'm doing outbound, I'll find a super specific post towards my target audience and just connect with those people. Now, if I'm talking about inbound, so about connection requests that people send me, that's a whole different story. So we use a system, and we actually also do this for clients and stuff, so we do connection vetting, and we look at two things. So people can either be engagers, and then we look at their profile and we make sure that they've been active within the last day. Preferably they've been active on my posts, which is often the case because they're sending me a connection message. So if people are engagers and they've engaged with me, then I don't care if they're specifically my target audience, because I know they'll engage with me. And if people engage in your post, it also helps your own first connections see it. So even if their connections might not be super useful for my post, it also boosts my post within my own network. So that's why that's useful. Otherwise, it will be the other people that we accept are people that send a personalized message, because, and if it's not obviously done by a bot, because this means that there's people that actually have something to say. And of course, I don't want to shut out people that are interested in communicating with me. I want to be everybody's friend to a degree, you know. So I'll accept those people as well. And then the third people we accept are people that fit our ICP, you know, so people that could be marketing qualified leads, so CEOs, founders, authors, coaches, all those type of people. We also accept those because we know that at some point they might be interested in doing business with us, and then it's good for us to be in their connection base, and it's good that they see our posts appear every once in a while, even if they're not engaging. So that's basically my answer.
Awesome. And you know that I just assume that people who are listening to us right now, they might have a question or should have a question, what to do with their current connection, with their existing connections, because, you know, nobody, it won't be a correct to say nobody, but let's say many of our listeners never thought about these three types of audiences, like you mentioned. So basically, if we'll just open our LinkedIn connections, we'll see that many of them won't belong to any of these three groups. So should you delete these connections, or what to do with existing connections in case if they aren't belong to any of these three groups?
Yeah, so that's a tricky one. So, well, it depends on a lot of things, you know, like I'll take a wild guess, and I'll guess that some people in this group, when Phantom Buster came out, they used the list that Phantom Buster gave us that had like 20,000 marketeers on it, and then they just turned it on and they sent like massive amount of connection requests day in, day out. Like I think I've done a couple of hundred of those invitations myself. So then you just have a whole bunch of people that you are connected with that are not even logging into LinkedIn, and that really sucks for your engagements. Has no effect whatsoever on your outreach though. So, man, it's a very difficult question. But if you haven't been super active on LinkedIn, then you might just as well just get an assistant and give them like a really specific profile of who you want to have in your connection base and who you don't, and just let them like unconnect or unfriend all those people that don't fit it. That's one way to go. If you've been active, what you could do is export all your connections, then scrape everybody who's ever messaged you, liked or commented on your posts. You can scrape all of those people, then use Excel to detract those people from your total amount of followers, and you could potentially unfriend those with a tool like Linked Helper. That's another option. Yeah, it's very specific to the account. I would really have to look at the at the specific account to give a better answer than that. But the approach of just like scraping everybody you've ever had a conversation with, and also scraping everybody that have ever engaged on it, and using Excel to track those from your total connection base, that's like one option. It's going to be pretty time intensive, pretty technical as well.
Awesome, thanks a lot. And I know it was a difficult question, but I assume that people will have after listening to us. Anyway, Rico dropped a question: how many sales qualified leads or marketing qualified leads come from people who have engaged versus who not engaged?
Actually, a really big part. I don't have an exact percentage because we don't track it in this fashion, but most of our inbound lead are people who have engaged. And actually, pretty weird, but most people come from our Facebook group. Though the engagement is lower there than on LinkedIn, and it's a lot of times it's people who've been in there for a really long time. Like last week, I did a bunch of coaching sessions with people who've been in my group for more than a year, and that I've engaged like once or twice, like 6 months ago. So pretty hard to predict often. But what one thing that is what people don't really talk about that I think is super interesting is we get a lot of referrals from people that we've actually never worked with. So almost at least once a day, I would say, we get introduced to a possible lead by somebody who's been engaging, and they've never worked with us. So we might as well be very bad at what we're doing, but because our content is speaking, because our content is making us seem or showing that we're actually good at what we do, people refer us based on that. So I think that's one interesting thing that we've been seeing, but I don't have any statistics or numbers on it. Sadly.
Awesome, thanks a lot for answering. And the last question, because I just seen that we have spent 1 hour talking, so it was a really great talk. But anyway, last question is what to do with the content that you have published on your website and you want to promote it on LinkedIn. So what are, I know, of course, the most like the simplest method is just to run paid ads on LinkedIn, but they are very expensive. So besides this most common approach, what are content distribution tips on LinkedIn? Because, you know, just if you publish a link to your website, a miserable quantity of people will see it. So how to distribute it the right way?
Yeah, so there's many ways to do it. There's some like more spammy ways, which would include just sending it out to everybody over a broadcast via a tool like LinkHelper, just messaging everybody. That's one way. Another way is to take the most exciting excerpt of it, then making a post about the most exciting part, then put a link to your website in the comments and linking to your comment in the post so you don't lose any reach. That's another way to do it. But let's say, I think I've seen you do this as well. But one of the best ways, let's say you want to really reach as many people as possible, is you'll just be like, look, guys, I've just figured out this amazing thing, and I wrote this guide about it. You're not going to believe it. It's going to change your life. You're going to grow 5 inches taller. You're going to make $500,000. You're going to grow a nice beard. If you're interested in this, just leave me a comment below and I'll message you or I'll send you the guides. You know, like this sort of engagement hacks are the ways that drive the most amount of people. So just like tell them how awesome your thing is, how it's going to change their life. Then say, look, if you want it, just leave a quick comment below and then I'll get back to you either in the comments or through a message. And then what you could do is you could just scrape everybody with LinkHelper and send everybody a message with the thing that you promised them. Awesome. So that's the best way. And I think I've seen you do it before.
Yep. I have done this, but never used, I have never used LinkedIn Helper. So just we did everything. We sent all the links manually. but it's a good idea to try it in the future. Also, I just figured out, besides this, I made a video about this post with a short description, so it worked also pretty cool, and might be a good tip.
Yeah, I don't personally actually. I haven't had an installation of Linked Helper running in a few months. I just know that's a possible way to do it, but we try to keep everything manual actually, especially for our clients. We pretty much always do things manually, but it's an option.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for joining me today. It was a really awesome conversation, and I'd like to teaser our listeners that this is just a part of Staffo's presentation that he will talk about on B2B Marketers and Founders Conference in Valencia, in Spain, in November. So if you didn't join us, I just will drop a link with early bird prices, so you just check them. You can check them and join us before we sold out actually all the early bird prices, because I unfortunately I'm on vacations right now. I didn't track the sales, but anyway, I know that almost, let's say, before I left Krakow, only 20% of early bird tickets left. So just a good idea for you if you want to meet us, if you want also to learn more about B2B marketing. So it's just a great idea to join us with this early bird prices. Thanks a lot for joining me today. I wish you all the good luck, and you really did an awesome job with Marketing Family and continue doing this. So just finger crossed for all your success. And thanks a lot for all guys listening us today. If you'll watch this video in replay, so if you'll have any questions, just drop them in comments and tag Staffo for answering these questions. Thanks a lot, and wish you all a great day.
Oh yes, thank you so much for having me. I had a really great time. I hope it was useful somehow, and everybody's always welcome to join my Facebook group as well, the Marketing Family, like Andrei talked about. And if you have any questions about LinkedIn whatsoever, you can drop them in the comments, and I'll be sure to get back to them in the future. Or you can just reach out to me over chat. I'm always there as well. So yeah, had a great time. Thank you.
Thank you too. Just